I've researched peak performance and flow state for 2 years now, and all the lessons compiled in this video allow me to make money online while working less than everyone else. And if I could go back 2 years ago and save my failing business and my failing productivity, this is exactly what I would do. Point 1. Productivity hacks are killing your progress. Minimalism wins. When I research the morning routines, when I research Pomodoro and all these different productivity hacks that I know for a fact you've heard of already and you probably do every single day, I stopped making money in my business and my productivity actually went down the drain, which is really weird to say. But when I cut all that out and I was focused on minimalism, I started to make more money and my productivity skyrocketed. And the weird thing is, when you focus on these hacks, what you do is you switch your attention from actually trying to improve your focus, your productivity, reach flow state. You focus on the mechanism instead of actually the result. And so you never really make the progress you want. So the best thing I ever did for myself is removing all of that fluff, focusing on what actually matters. So look at your life right now. Are you trying the Pomodoro? Are you trying all these different productivity hacks, and are they actually getting you anywhere or not? If they aren't, remove them straight away. Point 2, 99% of the work you do is absolutely useless. Focus on what actually matters. You see, in my old business called copywriting, every single day I would do the same thing. I'd wake up, load up my YouTube, and I'll go and find all the different copywriting courses, all the different copywriting videos, telling myself that if I just found this one little thing, I'd be on 10k per month by now. Then when I'll go to bed, I would stare at my ceiling, feeling super guilty, feeling super depressed because I didn't make any money, I didn't make any progress in my business. However, 6 months later, I actually started to make money in this business. I started to land clients. I literally landed like 3 copywriting clients in a matter of a week. And the one change I made in this period was realizing that consuming content and doing all this garbage doesn't matter. It doesn't bring you the results. But what really mattered was the outreach. So I doubled down on that. I started doing 50, 100 outreaches every single day. I started to actually make money. It's crazy, I know, you've probably thought of this already, but your brain is trying to convince you to do the exciting work, the stimulating work, and not the boring work that actually moves the needle. And so the second thing I want you to understand is that the work you're doing right now is probably not even bringing you the results. And there's a difference between productivity and busyness. When you're trying to maximize the time you work, what you're doing is you're kind of like decorating a terrible house. Imagine like you've got this weird house, right? It's completely abandoned and the foundations are completely wrong, right? If you literally just touch this house, it's gonna fall over. Imagine trying to decorate that, putting all these different decorations up, trying to make it look nice. It's not going to work. It's going to collapse straight away. Point 3, you don't need more time, you need more focus. I remember around a year ago, I was sitting at my desk journaling, right, and this one thought came into my mind. Every single time I would try and find why my business wasn't growing, the same thought popped up, and it was, I didn't have time to complete the work. And so what I did is I wrote down where every single moment or every single hour my time was going, my attention was going, right? And as I kept on writing different hours, social media hours racked up. 1 hour on social media, 1 hour on Instagram, 1 hour on YouTube, 0 hours on the business. So if you're sitting here constantly telling yourself that you don't have time to complete the work in your business, even if you're in school, even if you've got a 9 to 5, what I want you to do right now is pause the video, journal, and write down where every single hour of your time is going. And I guarantee once you do this, you'll realize why you aren't successful yet. Point 4, work as soon as you wake up. Morning routines are useless. You see, back when I was building my first business, I would follow the Hamza advice, right? I'd follow the morning routines like meditation, journaling, getting the sunlight every single day. I'd follow all that advice. And by the time I actually went to sit down and work on my business and do the actual important work, I couldn't focus. And this is the problem when you follow the morning routines. It deteriorates your focus, your attention, when you could actually be spending it on the work. And then of course you can do those habits after you do the work, right? And also you activate so many flow triggers. A flow trigger is kind of like a trigger that activates the flow state, that makes you more prone to a flow state, right? And it activates so many like deep embodiments, deep concentration. So the best thing I ever did in my business, and the one thing that allowed me to make money in my business, was just waking up and getting straight to work, not doing anything else. Point 5, flow state is the only way to win. It's just a race against time. If you're trying to build a business, is very hard. You've probably already guessed that, right? Especially for me. You feel like you're not being productive because you're seeing everyone else study for these exams while you're trying to build a business, right? You follow the odd one out. But it's until that I learned how to actually get into a flow state and the science behind peak performance that my entire life changed. You see, when you're in a flow state, you are 500% more productive, focused, and alert. And so what happens is you can literally work 5 times less but still get the same result and even better results. And if you want to know the exact process to get into a flow state, then click the first link in the description to join my free community. But just realizing this and putting all my attention onto figuring out how to get into a flow state allowed me to work less, allowed me to actually make money online, and allowed me to get results much quicker than most people, simply because I was much more productive. I'd reached the peak performance state. Point 5, your business is just a reflection of you. Now this is a very important point and I don't want you to miss out on this. But I used to always blame the external factors to why I couldn't make money online, like my age, the time, my knowledge, right? Not being able to buy this guru's course as to why I couldn't make money online. It was just me. I was not consistent. I didn't show up every single day and do 10 hours of work. I didn't do the outreach every single day. I couldn't focus. And when I switched my focus from trying to solve the business issues to actually trying to solve my own personal issues like inconsistency, lack of discipline, right? Because that's when I started to make money online, because businesses do not fail, people do. And this is why I focus on telling you how to get into a flow state as an entrepreneur, because it's the biggest thing that entrepreneurs struggle with. It's actually focus, but they do not want to admit that. They want to blame the business external factors to why they can't make money online. Point 6, the boring work is the path. Stop chasing excitement. Now this is a really important point and it's quite funny, to be honest, because I remember being on this call with like this entrepreneur who was making 10k per month, right? You know, he's living a digital nomad lifestyle that you see online, these Instagram influencers constantly flexing the 10k per month mark, you know? But when I asked him like what he does with his time, he didn't say the usual thing like traveling. Instead, his life is pretty boring. All he did was work the entire day, get straight to work on the hardest task you can think of, and get to bed at like 8 p.m. And what I want you to start doing is, instead of chasing the excitement, exciting work, like consuming content or doing all that stuff, I want you to chase the boring work. Because the moment that I completely switched my business and allowed me to start making money online was the moment when I started asking myself what seems the most painful to me and chasing it, instead of running away from it like most entrepreneurs do. And the thing is, this actually allows you to get into deeper flow states, because the first part of a flow state is a struggle stage. The more struggle you go through, the better the flow state is going to be, the more focused you're going to be. Point 7, focus is about reducing, not adding. You see, I used to be this person that was obsessed with the productivity hacks, you know, like blue light glasses. I'm not saying these are bad, by the way, but I'm saying I used to obsess over them every single day. And as the days went on, my brain started to get overloaded with all these different stimulants, right? All these different things that were trying to improve my focus, and it started to ruin my attention. My focus is literally worse than before I started using them. But the one thing that really improved my focus is reducing all these things, removing them from my life, removing the distractions, removing all the different thoughts that were just clouding my mind. And once your brain gets used to focusing by itself, that's when you can start to add them. That's when you can start to improve and optimize your focus using those things. Point 8, you are who you say you are. You see, I had this old client that I used to work with that, you know, I helped improve his focus. He went from like focusing for 0 hours in a day to being able to focus for 12 hours every single day on his business, and it just started to make money online again. He got out of this huge rut that he was in. And once I stopped working with him, I asked him what was the biggest thing that allowed him to get to that point where he could focus and reach flow state for 12 hours a day. And he didn't say the focus systems, he didn't say all the resources I'd given him. It was the identity that he adopted. It was the new identity that was focused, that was the entrepreneur who's making money, that enjoyed the work. Because before this point, all he would do is tell himself that he wasn't productive, that he was a procrastinator, that he was lazy. And of course, you're going to live the identity that you build about yourself, right? So I believe if you're in a rut right now and you can't focus on your work and your business, the best thing you can do is simply change your identity. You know, do visualizations, do affirmations every single day. And what they'll start to do is change your beliefs around yourself, and that will lead to different actions you're taking. Point 9, do not sacrifice sleep for more work. Now, this is a very important one, and I know you're doing this right now. You see, I used to be the entrepreneur that would stay up until like 1 a.m. trying to do all my work, you know, go to school at the same time, being super sleep deprived all the time. You know, my work hours started to double. I started to get nothing done because I was so tired all the time. I could not focus at all. And I remember one time when I completely stopped doing all of that. I started to go to sleep at like 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. And the moment I did that, I started to work less, but focus more. I still got the same amount of work done. And so if you're this entrepreneur who constantly focuses on trying to work more and you feel like your sleep is terrible, it's holding you back, literally just take a reset day. Do not do any work and fix your sleep schedule. Take a week off if you have to, because I know the exact same thing happened to me. As soon as I optimized my sleep, my focus tripled, and the work you produce is literally 10 times more productive than what you were doing before. Point 10, reprogram your mind to enjoy hard work. With the story I told you just a few minutes ago with, you know, the entrepreneur making 10k per month on being on a call with him, right? I remember asking him a very specific question. I asked him, why does he work all day if he's making 10k per month? Why does he slave away at his desk? Why doesn't he like travel the world or do all this entrepreneur stuff that you see people do? And he simply told me, I am enjoying my life while I'm working 12 hours a day. And that's the thing that most people don't understand, and this is what I didn't understand for ages, that the top entrepreneurs that you see making all this money, they work 12-hour days, they do, and they actually enjoy the work. And this is why there's a huge disparity between the poor entrepreneurs who are barely scraping by and the top entrepreneurs who are making all the money and dominating the market. They simply enjoy the work, and so they can do it for 10 to 12 hours every single day with full focus. And you're probably wondering how you actually do that. Well, the simple way I did it, and the simple way these top entrepreneurs that I've coached to do it too, is simply by reducing the dopamine in all areas of your life. And so the work naturally becomes the easiest thing your brain can focus on. So if you scroll for 5 hours a day, of course your brain is going to choose that compared to working on your business, because it's so much more stimulating, right? But the moment you remove that and all these different random cheap dopamine sources, that's when you start to focus on your business for ages. Point 11, flow follows focus. I know you're going to probably relate to this story. You see, I used to always be able to only focus for like 1 minute, and the moment I got distracted, I would always tell myself, okay, now I'm going to lock in, now I'm going to focus, and the same thing happens again. This time it would be like 30 seconds after like losing focus, I'll just lose it again. I would go on YouTube, I'd start scrolling randomly. And this is why I never reached this peak performance state, which is, you know, flow state. Every single time I would always lose focus. And what I want you to start understanding is that flow is always going to follow focus. The big requirement for flow state is focus, because it takes around 20 to 28 minutes to actually enter flow. And if you can't focus for that long, you're constantly going to reset the timer and you're never going to be able to reach it. So the best thing I'd recommend you do if you can't reach flow state right now is fix your focus. And I guarantee the moment you actually do that, your flow states are much more consistent. You start to get into them randomly every single day and you start to make money online. Point 12, purpose is a huge driver for peak performance. You see, I remember clocking in every single day on my old operating business, and everything was fun and dandy in the first few months. You know, I really enjoyed it. I started to actually, you know, make progress. I started to get my copy reviewed by all these big guys, right? And I actually started to see myself doing this full time for like the next 20 years. But as the months go on, I started to lose this vision inside my mind of what I wanted it to be like. I started to lose the purpose I had in this business. And so day by day, when productivity worsens, I start focusing, I start getting into flow states. And that's when my business revenue just goes down, down, down. I start making progress altogether. And then I went through this weird 3-month period where I was thinking of transitioning into a different business, right? I was thinking of stopping it completely, but I didn't want to ruin the progress I made. But eventually I did. I stopped doing it. I switched to a different business model. And the moment I did that, I started to work 10 to 12 hours a day, every single day in flow states effortlessly. I didn't need the productivity hacks, because purpose is one of the biggest flow state triggers. When you actually work on your purpose, you don't need anything else. You rely on this fuel, this desire to do what you want to do. And so the way you can do this is you can constantly revisit the vision you have. Imagine you're constantly just putting gas on this fire, right? You're constantly making it bigger, instead of just letting it die out cold after a few months. Point 14, become conscious of the mental resistance. Now this is the final point, and it's by far the most important one, because every single time I'd go to sit down and work on my business and I didn't reach this peak performance state, like I would constantly face so many different negative thoughts, like it's too much effort, I could be playing video games right now, I could be scrolling, and I didn't really know for like an entire year that it was this old identity that I created that was addicted to video games, that was addicted to scrolling and just pure cheap dopamine, that was trying to come out again. It was trying to take over my life, right? So, and you can name this force as something called mental resistance. This force that tries to keep you in comfort, right? And the best way to actually get rid of this force, because I know you experience it every single day, even though you probably tell yourself that you don't, it's probably trying to mask and hide it from you, right? The first way to get rid of it is by just becoming conscious of it. Every single time you go to sit down and you face this negative thoughts of it being too hard, the work, literally just realize that this is a mental resistance trying to kick in, and it's trying to just take you off course. And the moment I did that, I realized that the negative thoughts I had, the work being super hard, was not real. The work was super easy. It was just my perception of it being super difficult, of the identity that I created. And as soon as I fixed that, I started to work 10 to 12 hours every single day, reaching flow states in peak performance. Now these 14 points that I learned over the 2 years allow me to effortlessly get into flow states every single day, blow my business, make my money online as a stupid teenager in school, and allow me to coach 50 entrepreneurs who do the same, alright? So if you want to get into a flow state for 6 to 12 hours, make more money online as an entrepreneur, click the first link in the description to join my free community, where you get access to a free flow state course and a free coaching call with me, alright? Goodbye.